Masonic steps. And I'm not a Mason, so I'm not quite sure what they are, but my impression from things on the internet is he says use the steps of the Master Mason, which is supposedly, you're supposed to do something like, and what he means in this is you stand in a position, you imagine a coffin, and which is something interesting because Capricorn, Saturn, god of death, you have this death connotation. So you imagine a coffin and you step over the coffin. So you imagine the coffin here. And then he says you step to the left of the coffin. And then when you imagine you're stepping over all these exaggerated kind of steps. And then you step once again to the left. And then finally, like you're at the top of the coffin and you kind of step there. And so there are these weird stepping motions, but you're using the knees in this. So you can perhaps do this stepping kind of exercise to imitate that, to activate the knees. Or you can just do the kneeling exercise if you want to. But I just thought I'd mention that for a little bit of spice and flavor. Next we come to Aquarius. And Aquarius is interesting because it's just really, really simple. And in being simple, it's almost boring, or you may even want to just kind of go over it, or like not do it. But that almost, in the end, I kind of think of it like a test. Because it's like we're almost to the end, and if you fail in Aquarius, then you've wasted a year. And so in Aquarius, he basically just says you massage the calves from the base to the top. You're pulling the terrestrial energy upwards. So that's all you do. He says when at bed at night, before you go to sleep, you just get into bed and you just massage the calves upwards. And he gives a prayer to it, and other authors who have similar practices or similar systems, they have their own kind of prayers where you pray to Uranus, or like which is the planet of Aquarius. Or you call down some kind of cosmic forces and you want them to marry the forces in your calves. Or in the end, if you feel a prayer spontaneously arise in you while you're doing this practice, go for it. But in the end, you can just do the massages, massaging the calves upwards. So you do that every night in the period of Aquarius, where finally you come to the feet. To the base, to the beginning. This will be at this point where initiation comes in. So in the feet, which is Pisces now, Pisces. In Pisces, you vibrate the feet. So you focus your attention, your concentration onto the feet in meditation. And you use the vowel sounds. So the vowels, for people who know Rosicrucianism, this is like so Rosicrucian. But for people who don't, the Rosicrucians, what I mentioned how they, in their manifestos, they talk about, we do alchemy, magic, and Kabbalah. Kabbalah, Hebraic, mystical system. But if you remember in Hebrew, they don't have any vowels in their writing system. You just have to know what vowels are there. So there's something sacred about vowels that they're absent, and same in some other languages. But the Rosicrucians have this weird kind of import, and there's this sacred nature to words, obviously speaking a spell. But the vowels are in between, they create, they're the in between all the consonants that give spells or words their power, their magic. So there's something sacred to like the Rosicrucians, that they see these vowels as important. So you basically materialize, you basically just intone the vowels, but you aim your attention at the feet to try and feel vibrations in the feet. E, E, O, U, A. And so that's the practice of Pisces. And you could probably, if you wanted to, you could just do it for 5 minutes, or you could go really potent and try and do it like an hour a day or something. Or don't want to push yourself into the ground, but you're trying to cultivate a sense of vibration in the feet. And this opens the gate of Pisces, and being the final gate, then terrestrial energy can easily flow upwards and heavenly energy can flow downwards. And these two things can completely properly mix together, and the body fully saturates at this point. And at this point, then that is when you have perhaps initiation, hopefully initiation. Hopefully in the saturation we crystallize in this point. And in crystallizing, we then achieve something. We then awaken to a new world. We then are initiated into a new life. This is not also So it is something that we do with ourselves, but it can even become quite intimate or extended. Like if we do begin to unfold astrally, like halfway through, we will find that there are beings in the astral that begin to guide us or help us. It said that if you work seriously for 3 months, like the masters in the astral begin to notice you. It's like they don't really, they love humanity, but in the end, look at humanity. So it's like, if someone's working sincerely, it creates light. And so the masters see the light and they're like, oh, hello, we got one. And so it attracts things in the astral to you, the good things, like attracts like. So masters may come and aid you, and you may experience something. You may experience something profound, or you may just experience a tiny voice that was always there, but for some reason you've just noticed it now, and that voice may guide you onto other things. But nonetheless, this is basically the overview of that system, which Hermetic astrology, which is it is astrology, but it's connected to alchemy. That understanding, astrology is the science of the macrocosm and cause and effect in the macrocosm, but alchemy is the understanding of the microcosm and the cause and effect in the microcosm. To connect these two is the profound ideal of the Hermetic scientist. But anyway, now I'm just Aquarian rambling now. So, are there any questions or clarifications?
So you were saying that if a Virgo is the stomach, they may have stomach problems, right?
Yeah, that's something I'd say.
So does that apply to all like if somebody's an Aries, will they have problems with migraines or things like that?
Perhaps. Perhaps there's a whole field of astrobiology in that sense. I mean, the astrology, once again, just isn't the horoscope. There's massive correspondences and ways you can elaborate outwards into certain things. But it's said that there's maybe proclivity to certain diseases or somewhat in certain parts. Like with cancer, like my partner's a Cancer, and when she got pregnant after pregnancy? It was after pregnancy, so she was already quite weak, and she got really sick, and then her lymph nodes just swelled up, and so she just has a swollen, which is very Cancerian, it's in the chest. She just has a swollen lymph node, but it never went down. And so it's I don't know if she wasn't a Cancer, would that have been something that weakened in her or whatnot, or perhaps in someone else, maybe in if she was another side of the sign, like a Capricorn, maybe the knees would have weakened or something like that, or who knows. But yeah, that's not my field of expertise. Yeah. Hope that answered your question. Any other questions? Hopefully, I'll just say, it's good to come along to lectures and whatnot, and it's good to receive teachings like this, but there's something in this that was very profound and struck me. It's it shouldn't just be left in a book in a dusty cover, in a dusty cupboard on a bookshelf. There's something in here that was meant to be used. So perhaps even if you don't do the whole thing, or if you take something from this, try to use something from this. I mean, we're almost beginning Aries now. Maybe if you go into Book Depository and order really early, you can get the full book. I'm not sponsored, I swear. But nonetheless. Yeah. Yes.
I have a question about sexual magic.
Yes.
You said that most people, their sexual magic leaves them.
Yeah,
and
the seed.
Children.
Well, no, as in when the sexual magic is about using your sexual energy, which is.
Sorry, the terrestrial energy. That's what I meant.
Yeah. It's that sexual energy. The energy within you elaborates or makes a variant wherever it goes. But that sexual energy is a part of that. And so with the sexual energy, you could say it's the base form of energy. But what happens when a male and female join together? Usually new life is created. That's why there's an importance on it, because mankind can do what the gods can do when they have sex. They can create new life. So that's what most people do, is they create externally. Whereas if you put a seal there, and you stop it from going outwards, and you transmute it inwards and upwards, then something else can be created, but something internal. That's the idea behind sexual magic, or sexual tantric rituals. And that's the, you could say, the esoteric reason why many societies preach a type of chastity for at least a while. It's not because, you know, celibacy, the Bible, Jesus said so. There's actually very profound esoteric reasons why they did that. They're not just weird. Yes.
When you do these like exoteric practices, like these outward practices that you're doing, are you trying to say, like when you're doing Aries or when you're doing each one, get an esoteric sort of message from that energy? Like, are you trying to learn that energy's message?
In the West, there's, I'm not sure about the East, but in the West there's this big connotation on everything that happens in the world is an emanation of something that happens in the internal worlds. But then that principle can be manipulated. So that's, in a sense, what ceremonial magic is. You're in this place and you're doing something physically, which then changes something in a higher dimension, and then that change then emanates down and has an effect in the physical. So in these physical practices, although they're physical, have an esoteric effect. So you are trying to connect with that energy and learn the lesson of that energy, but in doing that, it's sympathetic. You're moving the head. The energy is related to the head. There's this. You're building more connection with it, more sympathy. That's at least how I would explain that.
Yeah. Because I was just wondering, like, this probably speeds up your evolution a little bit. Like I feel like, say, just my own experience being a Leo, like I've got to crystallize that energy, you know. And like once I asked like a psychic, oh, could I be like Adam and do talks, and they you just make it about yourself, which I would. Whereas you're like pouring out all the knowledge to everyone. So I can sort of, like if I was doing queries, like I would try and learn from, say, you, like all that energy of how a query is about the group and helping everyone sort of thing, instead of just being like my Leo self about wanting it to be about me. So do you learn those different, you bring that energy into you, so you crystallize it, or you
yeah, because I think everybody definitely has a capacity to, I mean,